Yes. We still giving away money, man. Football is money. You just got to stay tuned in. You feel me? But right now we talking about quarterbacks, specifically quarterbacks in the NFC. And to zoom in even more, we're going to go NFC East. So this whole episode going to be about NFC East quarterbacks, and the reason is because, right now quarterbacks are being priced, they're being priced out. Everybody want to know who's got value, who's overpriced and all that good old stuff. We're trying to gear up for next season. So we're talking about fantasy draft, win totals, early odds, and most of those prices are built on projection. Not proof, right? So today we ranking NFC East quarterbacks based on projection from a betting and fantasy perspective. Obviously, this is football, it's money.
Motion left to right, there's nothing there. Now he tries to run, breaks a tackle, dives for the end zone, fumbled the football, left sideline, midfield, 40, 30, 20. Touchdown!
Yeah, here we go.
Throws back in the end zone. There's C.D. Lamb.
Unbelievable!
We're back. You're listening to Football is Money on footballismoney.com. Here's your host. They call me boss.
So we're not just talking about who's the best, but who's being projected high and who's being projected low, right? Because right now is when the opinion starts flooding in. Before free agency, before the draft, before anything becomes real. And if you listen to the average fan or the latest clickbait show, you'll see people already assume that they know who's taking the leap. They know who's falling off. And most of that confidence is based on projection. And in football is money, projection matters because projection drives fantasy expectations. And projection moves betting markets before the season even starts. So if the projection is right, there's no edge, right? Because, the numbers is right, they add up. But if the projection is wrong, then that's where the money shows up. So we're going division by division through the NFC, ranking quarterbacks based on early projection stability, who actually feels solid, who carries risk, and where expectation might be getting ahead of reality. And while we going through this, I want you to think about one thing, like who's being overpriced and who's being undervalued right now. That ties directly into the giveaway, right? And I know a lot of you guys are here for the giveaway, so you got to pay attention. I had someone ask me on YouTube channel in the comments, how does the giveaway work? And the main thing is you have to be tuned into the episode in order to follow along. What I meant to say, I'm not going to give out any details about the giveaway on the YouTube comments or in the Facebook comments or anything like that. All of the details are right here on the show. Your weekly guide on how to maximize your opportunity to win this money every month is going to be on the show. You go to the website, I have an overall layout about the rules or, how you can entry and how long we're going to be doing this. But outside of that, I'm not going to be, responding to comments asking about how does the giveaway work, all right? Because I give you all of the information in the show. I make sure of it, all right? Back to the show. Let's start in the NFC East because this division gives us one of the clearest pictures of how projection actually works, right? You got quarterbacks here being projected for completely different reasons. You got quarterbacks being projected on proven production, Some are being projected based on expected growth, and some are being projected almost entirely on upside. And from a betting and a fantasy perspective, this is where projections start shaping how you move early. Win totals, all of that is built around quarterbacks. The fantasy boards is built around quarterbacks. You know, I know guys that like taking quarterbacks in the first round. I will always advise against that, but to each his own. And, and with fantasy, some players go in the first round based purely on projection, right? We all understand what this projection is. So instead of debating opinions, let's break this division down the way it should be. Projection based. Stability, risk, expectations versus reality. All right? Wait, but before we rank anything, let's ground this in something real, because projection always starts with what actually happened, right? So here's what the NFC East quarterbacks actually did last year. All right, we got Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, he led the division in production. They didn't make the playoffs. You can blame it on whoever you want to, but they did not make the playoffs. But Dak had a pretty decent year. 4,500 yards, 30 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts came right behind, 32-24, 25 touchdowns. Jackson Dart, 2,200, 15 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels, he only played a handful of games last season, so he only got 8 touchdowns, and these are passing stats. Keep that in mind, and you can see the ratings and everything like that. Jackson Dart, he handled the rookie workload for the Giants. He showed solid flashes, but you can see that he is still developing. And Washington split time with Marcus Mariota and Jaden Daniels, so it was a limited sample size. Production tells you what happened. Projection tells you what people expect next. And those two things is not always the same, okay? And if you've seen the conversations this week, you've been paying attention, you follow the channel, you already know how strong these opinions get. It was a question floating around online. It was a statement. It said Dak Prescott is better than Lamar Jackson. I didn't post it, but I responded with my take, right? What I say? Say, if we talking pure quarterback play, pocket presence, read, structure, just overall quarterback play, then give me Dak. I don't believe that that's an unreasonable take. And this was the response that I got. One of them anyway. It was a couple of them, but some people agree with what I said, but we're going to highlight this guy here. All Dak does is beat bad teams, garbage stats. Record against winning teams is bad or whatever. Lamar won the MVP. Yeah, I get it. And this is exactly how projection starts shaping perception. This is projection in real time, because one side sees structure and production and the other side sees outcomes and expectations. Same quarterback, completely different projection, right? And then you got to ask yourself, what are you projecting? Are you projecting this quarterback to win a division? Are you projecting this quarterback to win MVP? Are you projecting this quarterback to be a top tier fantasy quarterback play for you this year? Are you projecting this quarterback to, cash in on any of his futures, right? And all of these things come into consideration. And then you got to evaluate where the numbers are and move accordingly. So, just for fun, right now it's still early ranking. I'm going to call in my boy APJ, the outspoken one. And I'm going to get him to give me his take on the NFC East and their quarterback ranking, right? Because I think depending on how you see projection, your rankings will look completely different. You know, it's all about what you're looking for going into this season. So let's go ahead and do it the right way, man. APJ, man, what's good? Go ahead and rank these NFC quarterbacks, man, based on what you see, what you feel, and everything like that. You got it, player.
All right, man. Football is money. Football is money. Y'all check it out. It's the new segment. We're going to run through the quarterbacks this time. Just the NFC, ranking them just by the divisions. Every division got a division leader. And every year it's a new champion. This year we're going to call out the congratulations to the Seahawks, Seattle Seahawks. Congratulations for winning the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold, you guys deserve it. He got an incredible story. We're going to start it out, though, with the NFC East. All right, from the bottom to the top. All right, cool. I'm going to go start out with Jackson Dart because he had an incredible year. He definitely need an honorable mention on all statistics and everything. Specifically what he did. He didn't necessarily get to the playoffs or anything like that. So, you know, I'm going to speed it up and go to Jaden Daniels, who also got hurt. He get an honorable mention because of what he did in the first year. He did go to the playoffs with his team. He had a healthy season. This year wasn't so healthy, so we hope the best for him. The year before that, Super Bowl champs was the Philadelphia Eagles. They got Jalen Hurts up there, who is Mr. Consistent from behind the mic, but in the play this year was very inconsistent. Their offense was struggling because of his play. Can't blame it on nobody else. Gotta, put it on the head just like that. And honorable mention also to the number one in that division, quarterback anyway. I'm going to go with Dak Prescott. Their team need to get a whole lot better, but as far as quarterback play, Dak Prescott is probably the best quarterback in the NFC East at this present point, playing his position. Y'all continue to check us out at Football is Money.
Love it. Hey, good take. And I can understand that. I really can understand that. But again, like I say, it's all about what are you projecting. So for all my people that's new to betting, if you never placed to bet anything, let me go ahead and say this part real clear. So when you see numbers like plus 1,300 or, plus 2,000 when we looking at these MVP odds, that means if you bet $100, you can win said amount. And with the numbers, so the bigger the number, the less likely the sports book think it's going to happen. All right. So if you see quarterback plus 5,500 to win the MVP, that is a long shot. So at the end of the day, these numbers show expectation, not guarantees. But right now, expectation is still being built on projection. I like your list, APJ, and we kind of similar, but mine's go a little different. So I will put Jackson Dart at number 4 still. And this come down to projection risk because we got a young quarterback, limited sample size. He's still developing. The upside might be there, but from a projection standpoint, he's still the least stable quarterback in this division. Okay. His early MVP odds is sitting around 5,500 plus 5,500. So, that's a long shot. That means the market still sees this as a long projection. So Dart comes in at number 4. Here's where it get tricky. I got Jalen Hurts right here, number 3. And I know this is going to surprise a lot of people. Hurts has been productive, but projection isn't always solely based off of what you did. It's about what's coming next, right? So I don't see a major passing leap coming. Some of that production could level off. He's still productive, still stable, but from a projection standpoint, I see more plateau than growth. All right. Right now, his MVP odds sit around 3,500 plus 3,500, which shows expectations are solid, but not elite. That put Hurts at number 3. Okay, so I got Jaden Daniels at number 2. I know last year he was hurt. He needs to put a little meat on his bones, put some bricks in his back pocket. I believe he will stay healthy this year. And, this is where his projection starts climbing, is based off health. If he keeps improving, if he can stay healthy, he has the kind of skill set that produces numbers fast. Rushing upside, explosive plays, and that combination gives him a very high projection ceiling. His early MVP odds have him around plus 2,000, which shows how fast expectations are rising. Their projection puts Daniels at number 2. And this is where we agree. We agree on number 4. We agree on number 1. Dak Prescott, number 1. This comes down to production and projection lining up. Dak led the division in passing yards. He led in touchdowns, and the offensive structure still supports volume. From a projection standpoint, he's the most reliable bet to produce numbers. Before you guys want to kill me and this and that, Cowboys ain't won we ain't talking about Super Bowls. We talking about what matters for betting and what matters for fantasy football. And that matters for consistency. All right. Dak Prescott early MVP odds sitting around plus 1,300. That's the highest projection in the division. Production plus stability. That's why Dak is number 1. Okay. And remember, these rankings, they not about hype. It's really solely about projection. Production tells you what happened. Projection tells you what comes next. Okay, so now that we've heard the rankings, let's bring it back to projection, because the NFC East shows you exactly how projection works in real time. Jaden Daniels is being projected extremely high in early fantasy rankings despite last year's limited sample. Their projection is built on upside, rushing ability, development, and the expectation of a leap. That's where belief starts getting priced early. But Jalen Hurts is different. Hurts isn't being projected based on belief. He's being projected based on confirmation, what we've seen. Multiple production seasons, stable usage, proven fantasy production. That's projection backed by proof, right? And you just hope that the continuity is there. Then you got a young quarterback, Jackson Dart. That's almost pure projection only. We have anything to really go off except a few games. But he have the youth going for him. He got the athletic upside. Developmental expectations are there. Very little confirmation though. And then you got Dak Prescott, the OG of the East. Dak might be the most divided projection in his division. Some projections will have him outside the top tier, but production says something different. And that gap between belief and production, that's where the projection conversation gets real. Because in this division, some quarterbacks are priced on proof, some are priced on upside, and some are priced on expectation. And understanding the difference, that's how you stay ahead of the market. Production tells you what happened. Projection tells you what people think happens next. And that's where projection turns into value. If the projection number gets too high, it becomes overpriced. And most of the time, overpriced projections don't return value in betting or in fantasy. But underrated quarterbacks with stable floors, those are the ones that tend to outperform expectations. Those are the players that win weeks. Those are the players that beat the numbers. And that's what actually wins when you're talking about cashing in, right? So when we talk about projection and value, it's actually simple. When everybody else is trying to sell you a dream, don't buy it. Stick with the reality of it. You know what I mean? Before we close this episode out, let's lock in this week's giveaway entry. So, as you all know, we are still running the $100 monthly giveaway all off season. And this week entry ties directly into what we talked about tonight. This week, I want to know one thing. Which quarterback in the NFC East is overpriced and which one is undervalued right now from a betting or from a fantasy perspective? Who's being pushed too high and who's sitting lower than they should be? All right. So again, to qualify to win this money, it's very simple. You have to subscribe to the channel. You have to be a subscriber. You have to make sure that you are on the email list at footballismoney.com. That's how we correspond with you. All right. And you have to participate. Drop your answers in the comments. Drop your answer in the comment. Who's overpriced and who's undervalued in the NFC East? Entries going to stay open until the last day of this month. This is the last episode of this month, but you still have time to subscribe, get on the email list, and have a chance to win for this month. If you miss the deadline, you still can sign up for next month. Okay, this is going to be going all the way until preseason. All right, guys. So, if you're trying to get this paper, man, if you're trying to get this knowledge, you want this game, stay tuned in because we got it for you. You dig? Straight cash, full transparency. It's going to be a random draw. Matter of fact, here's the wheel. Here's the wheel with the names on here. And like I say, the more you participate, like these guys are all signed up. So the ones that you see have double names, they name up here 2 times. That's how you multiply, heighten your chances to winning. You get your name added to the wheel more. The more you interact, the more you participate, the more your name goes on this wheel. So the entry, subscribing to the channel, and signing up for the email list, that gets you on this board. Answering the questions that we ask for every show, that gets your name on the board again. All right. And we're just going to fill it up all month until the month is over. And then we're going to spin it right here live on the show. But this is what we're looking like as of right now. And like I say, the more you participate, the more your name goes on the wheel. So if you're here every week, you are building position. So stay locked in. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'm your host. They call me Boss. This is Football is Money, and we out. Whoa, hold on. Wait a minute. I got something you might want to hear. Look at here. Everything that we do right here is in one place. Footballismoney.com. The podcast, it's on the website. The YouTube content, full episodes, breakdown, the shorts, everything, it's on footballismoney.com. No bouncing between platforms. No hunting for links, right? If you want picks, footballismoney.com. If you want to learn how to play fantasy football, footballismoney.com. If you want to compete in fantasy leagues with experienced players, footballismoney.com. If you already locked in and you just want confirmation, some tools, and a little structure, footballismoney.com. Energy drinks, podcast resources, spiritual alignment challenges, all at footballismoney.com. And if you want to book footballismoney.com directly, fantasy consultation, betting consultation, mindset, spiritual alignment, or if you just want to talk to yours truly, you can do that too. One platform, one ecosystem, everything. Football is Money is in one place, and that is footballismoney.com.
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening to Football is Money. Find every episode and more at footballismoney.com.